Good morning, everybody. Welcome to London Station. We are live. Hooray. I don't even have my lights set up right. I was just about to go live. I was in a voice call with some people in our Patreon, and everything involving Chrome just shut down. And I was like, hello? So, I just carefully didn't touch anything because, then my homepage went to a browser search redirect, and I'm like, okay, all right. I know this game, so did some research on the side. Think I cleared it, but it's cleared enough for me to stream, and I'll do a better deep dive on it later. The pretty basic ones that just change what your Chrome homepage is and expect you to still type things in because they're keylogging you or whatever. But I got it. Anyway, we don't normally start our streams by having viruses on our computer, but it is what it is. Welcome to Discovery Core, where we look at tabletop RPG products that are out there in the marketplace. And today, I'm pretty excited and nervous because I've never really looked at a game like this before. I know enough about the general premises of like OSR type games, and most of what I know turns me off of them, to be honest. But I'm excited this time because I like science fiction. I've searched long and hard for a long time to find a science fiction game that does what I want a science fiction game to do. And if you look back many streams, we had a stream about the Lambda Act, which is my stab at creating a science fiction RPG, which hasn't really gotten off the ground. It's just something that's kicking around in the back of my mind, and just thinking through like what mechanics would I want to see out of a science fiction game. I don't really want it to see it be like a class-based game, a D20 style Starfinder kind of a thing. I want something that emulates science fiction novels, and here we have this game called The Breach. So I got my hands on this out of there's a Humble Bundle out there right now that it's in, and it's worth full price. I'm sure it looks great. Looks like a great product. The history of this little guy is we're gonna go through it a little bit. I'm gonna butcher your name, Matteo. If you ever see this, Matteo Sciutteri, Italian, I presume, because it got picked up and published through Need Games, which a lot of people know as the publisher for Fabula Ultima. So we're going to go through a little bit of the history of the game because this is built off of a what is it called? See, I had all my tabs open and then that didn't last. The Breathless SRD. So Breathless is not a system or a creator kit that I'm familiar with, so I was going to pull that up. We're going to poke around at it just briefly to get our bearings and figure out what the game is built up off of, and then we'll dig in and look at the PDF a little bit. This will not be our normal London Station like quick start review where I have 60 pages to do and it takes me an hour to get through the first 20 because we have a full-on 130 page complete game. So it'll be interesting. I'm going to stand up for just 1 second and get my lighting set up properly because, like I said, I was fumbling here at the last minute with that virus on my computer. So be right back, and then we'll get into it. 1 second. There we go. Easy enough. Easy enough. So hope you're all doing well out there, and we're going to get into it. So, let's see. Again, I had everything all set up, and then it all shut down on me. So let's go over here and see what I had up. Oh, I did grab this image, because I think this is what grabbed me. The fact that they did this art style with this, like, worn paperback look with even, like, the little price tag sticker on it, and it just feels so nostalgic for me. Not that, like... so really, it was just that my dad had a bunch of these books out of this era, Isaac Asimov, Arthur C. Clarke, Robert Heinlein. Sorry, Robert. And so they really grabbed my eye just back on his bookshelf, and I would read through a lot of them were like anthologies of science fiction short stories, which is where the writers really just got creative and let loose. So they were always a lot of fun. And, I'm going to do this to myself. Going to do it to myself because we're starting off. We're going to try and start off strong. There we go. So yeah, I just love this cover art and the back cover of it, and of course I don't have it pulled up, do I? Because my computer did its thing. Where did I put it? Please open, so I can read the back cover. Science fiction role-playing game in 1943, the Ministry of Culture and Science of the Enlightened Confederacy ordered an experiment to test the theory of space-time flows developed by Mobius Higgs. However, something went wrong. The explosion of one of the laboratory's particle accelerators generated a gate between our world and the other infinite dimensions, the breach. And there you have it. There's the premise. So, yeah, I wanted to put that up there. Let me turn that off and see if I can get my... what do we want to do first? Let's probably go to... Let me go to my browser. Should we look at it on a Need Games website, or... Probably. We should probably do it that way. So let me turn on... Is this what I want? I think. We're going to find out. Yeah, there we go. Okay. So this is the games page on Need Games. So it's need.games/the-breach. If you want to go directly to it. And this is how we have it. Yeah, so it has this, you know, the what do they call this? This dot... it's not dot matrix, but there's this dot style that was used in old printing of, you know, comic book art and, you know, novels at the time. So it's just really cool aesthetic that they put on. And as you know, we like Astro Prisma around here, so we like the cassette futurism, the retro futurism aesthetic. So it's pretty fun. So here we go. We have, again, the little blurb that was on the back of the book, a retro science fiction role-playing game. Following this experiment, recorded in the annals as the collision, the Ministry of Culture and Science building was isolated, and all employees were evacuated and taken to the underground bomb shelter called the Bastion, without being able to communicate with the outside world. Under the supervision of the Heralds, the members of the Ministry reorganized life within the Bastion and established the RACE protocol: research, analyze, collect, and eradicate, to deploy teams of specialized scientists known as Watchers into the uncharted realms beyond the breach. Their activity exists and is organized around a single purpose: to fulfill the most recent directive from the Prime of State, travel through the infinite worlds to glorify the enlightened Confederacy. Pretty fun. Sounds fun. It's pretty wild that, like, okay, let's double check this. So all employees were taken to the bomb shelter and they can't communicate with the outside world. So that's going to be interesting. Written by Matteo Sciutteri, The Breach is an intense sci-fi and horror game. Again, not my bag, but we'll see. This reminds me of Across a Thousand Dead Worlds as well, which was published by Black Oath Games. And that is a solo RPG that has a similar premise. It is, they find a alien waypoint sort of thing out in the asteroid belt. Between Mars and Jupiter. And from there, they find it and it has a bunch of coordinates, and so they have what they call divers and this company that you can try and earn, you know, your right to live. They're like, yeah, just become a diver, and you will get teleported into unknown. Like, they have no idea what's on the other end. You could just immediately vaporize. And they're like, I don't know, we have all these coordinates, so, like, pick one and go explore. That's the game. This seems like it's a little bit similar, but we'll find out just how much. I was gonna say, you know, when this was all put together. I think the English updated version that was published here by Need Games was released in 2024, so fairly recently. Drawing inspiration from the iconic science fiction novels of the 1970s, this game will transport you through time and space, revealing a multitude of parallel worlds referred to as paradoxes. So we're going to parallel worlds, which is interesting. The Breach follows an episodic structure: receive the briefing, venture into the paradox, do the mission, get out. This game probably is soloable if you wanted to take a stab at it. The game is conducted at a high pace. Each mission is a race against the clock. Enter the paradox, find information, and collect as many samples as possible before your resources run out or the paradox becomes unstable. So there's going to be some sort of clocks working against us. The inspirations here, I actually am not familiar with most of these. I know they're big and popular, but like I'm not very exposed to media. Let's just call it what it is. The Matrix, I know, of course. Oh, it actually goes to IMDb. Okay, don't need to do that. The Matrix, I know. I know of Silo. I know of a lot of these. I don't have any experience with Fallout. So I know basically from this entire inspiration list, I know The Matrix, I know Loki, and I know Equilibrium. That's about it for me. Watchers and Operator. As a Watcher, your role is to gather data and information, delving into these infinite universes in search of hidden secrets, all while attempting to survive and make it back to the Bastion in one piece, if that's even possible. Working in groups is fundamental. Entering a paradox alone is far too dangerous. Brace your weapons, the disintegrator and the gutter. And don't forget to wear your cloak, your protective suit and uniform. Unlike everyone else around the table, the operator does not play a specific character. Their job is to provide other players with details of the game world, fill it with dangerous obstacles, and play NPCs who have their own agendas. The operator describes the game and the outcomes of the watcher's actions, portraying a dying world and its dangerous dramas and unforgiving nature. They present opportunities to the PCs, then they follow the consequences wherever they lead. The Enlightened Confederacy of the Ministry of Culture and Science are not liable for any accidents or safety hazards resulting from the use of this manual or the tools described therein. There is an element here of, as we get to the PDF, it is formatted and stylized as a training manual, as if you are this person who's getting your briefing on the breach. Simple mechanics in the Breathless system. So we pop over here one second, quick. Zip. Okay, so this is the itch.io for the Breathless SRD, which is reportedly what this game is built off of. In a nutshell, survival horror RPG that's been adapted. You try and stay alive. There are living dead. So this is, I guess, a zombie game. I don't know. But here's the mechanics we're going to be looking at. When you face a risky situation, you make a check. You pick the skill that best fits your approach and roll the die that matches its rating. So the as far as I can tell, the stats are the die sizes themselves, which just increases your likelihood of succeeding. Because look at these. Your successes are static. On a 1 to 2, you fail. When facing a complication, it lands in full. On a 3 to 4, the action succeeds, but with reduced effect. When facing a complication, it's lessened. So there's a 2 different resolution systems here, I can tell already. And on a 5+, the action succeeds. So, the higher the roll, the greater the effect. Do you start with a D4? You do. So if you're rolling with a D4, you're always going to get reduced effect, or you're always going to get a complication. You just cannot physically get to a 5+, unless there's other modifiers, which we'll see. Here's the catch. Every time you roll a die, it steps down 1 size. The only way to reset it is to catch your breath, but every time you do, the GM introduces a new complication for the group. So it has this countdown mechanic built in, and maybe we won't actually have clocks that do that for us in the game. Maybe it's just purely mechanics based that it's going to do this to us and for us. Oh, that reminds me. Another thing that I got already is I was going to put on our sci-fi playlist that we used when we played Astra Prisma. So we'll bring that back. Here we go. Cool. That one rule is the core foundation behind almost everything in Breathless. So there you have it. Your actual stats and your effectiveness are decreasing as you play. So that's Breathless. The Breach allows you to play in an old school style. The players must rely above all on their intuition and ability to read the game and determine the best approach to face its challenges. Now, this is my challenge with games like these. OSR games, old school, Renaissance revival, whatever you want to call it. I don't generally like a game, and this is what I call it, a bit dismissively, is a game that says, well, how clever can you be? Because, and I was talking about this in one of our voice channels on the London Station Discord last night. I don't like the feeling that however on top of my game I am as a person, as London, if I can significantly negatively harm the group or the party or my friends by not being at my best, I don't like that pressure being put on me as a person playing the game. And so, unsurprisingly, when people talk about games like Pathfinder 2, where it's like, well, the math is really tightly designed, and if you go into a moderate encounter or whatever, you pretty much know you're going to win, and so you're just playing through to kind of see what happens. And then for some players, they say, well, what's the point? What's the point? There's no risk, there's no whatever, it doesn't really matter how well I think through this. And it's like, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, exactly. I'm okay with that. I am a casual gamer, I suppose. If you wanted to put me in a bucket, I want to play games and have fun and tell stories, and I want the things that happen in encounters or battles or whatever to narratively impact the world, because they do. But I don't generally like the style of it comes down to how smart I am in the moment. I don't want my gameplay to be severely affected depending on if I have a headache at the table or not. You know what I mean? So there's that. Now, that's not to say that I can't be clever and think of cool solutions and whatever. It just comes down to me, for general, something along the lines of how badly does the game want to punish you for that? If the game is really punishing for that, then I'm probably going to disengage and just be like, I didn't come here to be abused. So we'll see. Of course, with all games, there's always ways to adjust and modify things. They have a one-shot adventure out there. We did not grab that. And, there you have it. So that's the basics of the game itself, this was the itch page, Matteo's itch page, and it was since taken down from here because it got picked up and published. And I think it comes up, if you search for it, it comes up under Modiphius as well, but I think that's because Modiphius is a partner distributor for Need Games, possibly into other markets. But it is published by Need Games. So anyway, you can look at the itch page as well if you ever want to look it up. There it is in print. It looks gorgeous. Looks really, really nice. Anyhow, episodic game. Kind of points of light kind of a system here. So without further ado, let me turn off my browser. We'll go to the old PDF. I get to close all this stuff now. And cool. Make sure that like all of my actual thing went live. Okay, yeah. Okay, cool. Everything is working still on the computer. All right, here we go. PDF. So we have it here. I will probably close the bookmarks tab as we go through again, just admiring just the style of this beautiful cover art. I love. And then we read the back. There's some acknowledgments, credits. Let's briefly look at the credits. I don't expect to know anybody, but every now and then. Do not recognize any names, but that's fine. That is fine. And then there you have it. This work is based on Breathless, which we just looked at on Itch. So here's what I mean about the manual style of this. It has these kind of briefing pages. So we'll read this first one. We probably won't read every single inserted lore bit that comes in because again it's a big document and we got a lot to cover. So this is the Ministry of Culture and Science Enlightened Confederacy Official Communication Confidential Level 7 something only. Printed at the Palace of Culture and Science to all employees of the Ministry of Culture and Science, MCS I guess we'll call it, MCSEC. From the vessel, subject, creation of new divisions within the ministry. I'm pleased to announce the creation of 5 new divisions within the Ministry of Culture and Science, each focused on a specific aspect of our mission to redacted, and to glorify the Enlightened Confederacy. These divisions are, okay, already of interest. Not that I read into things. It's what we do here on London Station. We do close reads. The Ministry of Culture and Science has a mission that the player, reader, GM, whatever, does not get told in this space right here. It's explicitly omitted. So there is an element here of maybe there's more to this than meets the eye. These divisions are the Department of Bizarre Anomalies. This department will be led by the Collector and will be responsible for studying and cataloging strange and unexplained occurrences that are encountered during blank, as well as attempting to find explanations for them. The Department of Alien Technologies. This department will be led by the Engineer and will be responsible for studying and reverse engineering any advanced technologies that are encountered during blank, with the goal of adapting them for use in the Bastion and the wider world. The Department of Out-of-the-Box Thinking. This department will be led by the Thinker and will be responsible for finding creative and unorthodox solutions to blank that arise during blank, often through the use of unconventional methods and technologies. The Department of Theoretical Physics. This department will be led by the Chronicler and will be responsible for exploring the fundamental nature of reality and developing new theories and models to explain the mysteries of the universe. The Department of Interdimensional Red Tape. That's my favorite. I think that's hilarious. This department will be led by the Bureaucrat and will be responsible for managing the bureaucracy and paperwork involved in blank regulations. All divisions will report directly to the Logistics, whose director reports directly to the vessel. We are confident that these new divisions will help us to better achieve our goals and to continue our mission of exploration and discovery. We look forward to the contributions that each of you will make to the success of these divisions and the ministry as a whole. Sincerely, the vessel. So pretty simple org chart. We've got the vessel, we've got the logistics director, and then we have the 5 departments. So not crazy there. All right. Okay, right. This is a section I definitely want to read. Writing the Breach was a long and hazardous journey. I got the idea during a time of great changes in my life, and those changes inspired me to write about new worlds to explore. I was taking the first step into the unknown, much like the Watchers crossing the breach. As with any journey, there were numerous stops and obstacles along the way. However, eventually the game started to take shape, albeit still incomplete. When I published the first draft, I thought the game would fly under the radar. Sci-fi games are often considered a niche. Fortunately, things took a turn, and one morning in summer, a phone call completely changed the course of this game. I will forever be grateful to Nicola and Marco for believing in this project and providing me with the opportunity to further enhance it. What you hold in your hands is the revised version of The Breach, which I consider to be the official version. We worked really hard to make it as complete as possible so that the game is as exciting, clear, and fun as possible. My hope is that The Breach will provide you and your friends with hours of excitement and surprises. If you have any feedback, critiques, or questions, you can reach me on Twitter at MasterRPG. Matteo does also have a Blue Sky account. You can find them there easily by looking at my Blue Sky account, because I tagged them in some stuff just recently about this stream. Enjoy your journey through the endless worlds beyond The Breach. Okay, acknowledgements. While working on this game, I used ideas and inspirations that I have been carrying around for more than 20 years. I couldn't have written this game without all the hours I spent playing many other games. However, some games have influenced my work more than any other. I learned a lot playing them, as a player and a game designer. If you find something good here in The Breach, you can bet I have stolen it from one of these games. I love how that's said, because there is still a lot of work that needs to be done to put together a product. But it's nice to just get ahead of the people who've been like, oh, they just stole it. It's like, yeah, we were, artists and creatives are inspired by other artists and creatives. Who would have known? Because without them, this game would not exist. Mothership, Mouse Ritter, Blades in the Dark. Oh, the resistance rolls in here. Progress clocks, conversation flow. Good. I'm skipping these because I haven't read those games. Torchbearer, I haven't read. Nova, I haven't read. I know a little bit about it. It's built off of Lumen, which is a kind of light forged in the dark kind of resolution system with D6s. And Cairn. Please read this user's guide carefully, in particular the precautions for safety before starting your mission as a watcher. Follow the instructions to make sure you don't encounter any unexpected effects during your journeys into the paradoxes. The Enlightened Confederacy, or the Ministry of Culture and Science, are not liable for any accidents or safety hazards resulting from the use of this manual or the tools described therein. Manual number 01-2308- printed in June 1959. So the inciting incident for this game is in 1943. This has bumped our timeline up to 1959. I'm not actually sure at what timeline the game is actually fully played in, so we're still going to find that out in a little bit. Okay. All right, this is a glossary, so this is good stuff if you want to immerse yourself in the world here. We need to get to the core game, though, and we'll probably potentially come back to some of these things as well. And then there is a very kind of Miss Minutes kind of a thing here, which it did cite Loki as an inspiration. So, hi, I'm Miss Goldie. I'm your guide for this handbook. Every time you find me, pay attention. I have much to teach you. Here's my first tip. Not all text in this book is game rules. There's also some flavor text to help you set the mood. Thank you for calling it out. Not for my sake, but for people who like to bitch and moan about people's microfiction. And then they go, oh, I don't want to read this person's microfiction. Because there's a very funny video by... I don't remember their name. Anyway, it's a hilarious video about getting tricked into buying an RPG because of the author wanting to sell you their microfiction. It's a very funny video, and unfortunately people take it too seriously, and then they discount things. So we've got a table of contents. How to Survive looks like going to be the game stuff, so I'm looking through it here on the bookmarks, and I guess we'll jump straight into there. How to Survive. This is flavor, so that's okay. We will skip that for now, and we'll get into the game here. I do kind of enjoy this like technical manual style of like headers and everything. That's pretty cool. Yeah, you can use that command at any time. That's why it's there. It's there for people to make sure that I'm actually practicing my voice training when I'm live, because even when I, like, the last stream I did last Wednesday, I was like, oh my gosh, my voice training is going so well. And then I listened back to it, and I'm like, I can't even tell that I'm doing anything, which might just be, as I've been reminded and encouraged, that, like, voice training is a battle that's won by inches. And so maybe I have improved, and I need to go back to even older ones to actually compare. But it's just, it's frustrating. It's the worst. It is the worst thing about this whole journey, I have to admit. Well, that and dealing with the pharmacy. Why not? I want you to use it. Why should I have not told you that? That's not my problem if you have to resist. It's fine. It's fine. We have all sorts of commands now, too. We have if you want to, like, what is Discovery Core? And let's see if it works. I programmed it. There we go. DC stands for Discovery's Core, the sub-series of London Station, featuring first looks, deep dives, and close reads of TTRPG products existing and forthcoming and more. And that's what we're doing today. So there you go. I think I also put, I have ones for Patreon. I have ones for, did I put Gift in here? because y'all can gift Patreon memberships these days. Anyway, I will read while that prompts. We already read this from the back of the book. It is set in a dystopian retro future. I like retro future. Not a huge dystopian person, but that's okay. Following this experiment, yes, we read that. That's right, we read that. All right, here we go. However, what was supposed to be a temporary measure was extended over time by the Prime of States Proclamation, which postponed the opening of sealed doors of the Bastion indefinitely. So they are completely locked away from society, which is wild. Isolated, the members of the Ministry of Culture and Science, under the supervision of the Heralds, the military unit in charge of defense, reorganized life within the Bastion. They created a social structure inspired by one of the Enlightened Confederacy, with a hierarchy and a primary purpose to explore the worlds beyond the breach. They established the race protocol. We've read that. We do know that. And 25 years later, the race protocol is still in operation, and the social structure within the Bastion is now well established. The population has hardly any memory of the outside world. Wow, that's a vibe. You'd think at some point they're going to run out of people, right? But I guess it might take a while. 25 years later, after 1943, puts us into 1968, which is fun. Of course it's 1968. Because that's when it's a big year in history. Each activity exists and is organized around a single purpose: to fulfill the most recent directive from the Prime State, travel through the infinite worlds to glorify the Enlightened Confederacy. Don't know why they're so enlightened. Okay, where are they located? Geographically not defined in the rulebook. Could be anywhere in the world. They arose during World War II. This occurrence diverges from the history we know. So it's an alt history, which we know. You can decide if you like or let the mystery linger. How is the world outside the Bastion? This information is impossible to discover through official channels. In the past, using the pneumatic mail system, Vessel exchanged daily messages with the members of the Inner Circle reporting the will of the Prime of State. However, over the years, communications have become increasingly rare. One wonders if they're even actually communicating with the outside world at all, or if everything's okay out there. And that's probably a tension that you want to play with in the game itself. What's happening? What's the real purpose? Have other breaches appeared in different regions of the Earth? We don't know. I love that. This rulebook does not answer these questions. Yeah, that's so wild and vague. All right, 1.2, episodic game. Episodic structure. You go on missions. You're going to go gather samples and stuff. You're going to have downtime, so we're going to have some phases. A mission can be completed with a single 2 to 3 hour session. High pace. Conducted at a high pace, each mission is a race against the clock. Paradox can become unstable. Players are watchers. Scientists and soldiers brought together to explore. This is interesting. The players engage in the game following their own agenda. I wonder if it's going to give us mechanical agendas. And explore the paradoxes, try to survive in an alien world, all while discovering the destiny of their character. Also, by the way, I don't think I said good morning, D. Priest. I saw you there. Good morning. Since we've already talked this morning. I missed it. The Watchers, experts in their field. Determined to do whatever it takes. Not heroes, but ordinary people trained for a dangerous task. I love this too, this cloak thing. Their gear always includes tools, weapons, and the cloak, a special suit they wear to be protected from the alien world's hazards. The Operator, here we have my classic rant about good names and bad names for game masters. Operator, love it. Love it. So if you were wondering, I know everybody wonders, does London hate this name for game mastering? No, this one I love. Operator feels like what a game master does broadly, and it also ties you into the feeling of this world. And if it gives the game master quote-unquote mechanics that an operator of a mission would use, then it gets the A+. It gets S tier at that point, if they do that. So, if you've only heard the positive half of that rant, what I don't like is games where they come up with like this cutesy GM name and you're like, okay, but like what does that tell me about the role that they play? Why are you just, yeah, whatever. Anyway. That's my standard rant. Simple mechanics. The game has simple mechanics. Each player grabs a character sheet, fills it in. The players only have one resolution system to avoid consequences and dangers the reaction roll, which we know from the, what's it called? The acknowledgements earlier, that this is based off of Blades in the Dark Resistance. With a reaction roll, they can establish their approach and goal, and the operator explains the threat they are facing. Interesting. Game uses dice pools. Oh, I didn't pick that up from Breathless, so this must be a deviation from Breathless. Highest result establishes the direction of the story. Every time the players grab the dice, the story reaches a critical point. Okay, this phrasing is good. I'm trying not to do my normal thing because this is a whole ass game. Usually I would like belabor this for probably 5 minutes, but I love the way this is structured. Every time the players grab the dice, the story reaches a critical point. If the players grab the dice and the story has not reached a critical point, something has gone wrong. Okay, so it's an inversion. It's not saying when the story reaches a critical point, players should grab the dice. It's kind of just this inversion, which I think is kind of tasty. The dice roll, and the answer will always, the result will answer 2 questions. Does the character succeed in getting what they want? What consequences will the character face for their actions? Simple. We like it. I'm also going to ponder this 2308. You can have random numbers and things, I realize, but sometimes it's fun to try and figure out. Like when we read Pumpkin Spice and I figured out that they were calling back to a date that was like centered around the Salem witch trials. It's fun. 5 types of dice are used in the game: D4s, D6s, D8s, D10s, and D12s. We do not use the D20. We do not use the... that's the only one missing, isn't it? We do not use the D20. Each player needs at least 1 die of each size, but the more the better. I guess the D100, I guess, is what we would say we don't use. The dice represent the physical, mental, and material resources available to the characters. That's cool. We knew that these were basically resource die. It's a game about resource die, ultimately. But it's interesting to say that the dice all represent the resources. Physical resources, mental resources, material resources. In a way, they're not stats, which is kind of cool because you're assuming a baseline competence for these soldiers and scientists that are going across interdimensional portals. That's just cool framing. But surviving on missions is challenging, and each time a die is used, its size is reduced by 1. Old school play style. Here's where my lack of familiarity comes in. The Breach is a game that allows you to play in an old school style. Players must rely above all on their intuition and ability to read the game and determine the best approach to face its challenges. That actually was on the website page there. The operator has the task of creating an adventure full of challenges and dangers in order to give the life of the characters interest and excitement. The story that emerges from the game situation will be created scene by scene and will reveal the watcher's courage and dedication to the cause of exploring alien worlds. You play to find out what happens to the watchers during their missions, how they face the dangerous obstacles they will encounter, and what decisions they will make. The game mechanics are meant to reflect the feelings of danger and the fatigue experienced by the characters. The watchers are not heroes, but ordinary people, specialists in their field, who are willing to risk their lives for their goals. I appreciate that this is so upfront and clear, and I understand it. Even though London has her preferences, and she likes her cozy pumpkin spices and runeways and self-discovery games, if you're going to give me a game like this, tell it to me just like this. The mechanics are supposed to make you feel like you're in danger, and they're supposed to make you feel fatigued. Now, if you go into the game and you're like, I'm constantly feeling like I'm in danger and fatigued, you can be like, yeah, that's what it said right here. So even if you dislike that, you can still sit there and be like, yeah, I did sign up for that. So I appreciate it. With things that are not generally my style or my bag, if you want to call it that, whether it's, dungeon exploration games in the OSR vein or even this, if I know what I'm getting into and I know I'm going to be having a good time with friends while doing it, I can get myself into the headspace. This is another thing that I found in BRP games, as I think through when I was looking at RuneQuest for a while, is that it gives you this really meticulously built world with very thorough character creation, and then it also has these super deadly mechanics. Now, that may be potentially a mismatch, and people can argue about that and say it shouldn't be that way. This isn't really the right style for a game that uses the world of Glorantha, potentially. And they might be right. But what that did for me when I was thinking through, because I was like, that sounds terrible, and I want nothing to do with that. However, if I was going to have something to do with that, what I would do is reorient my perspective that I bring to the game. If I'm playing The Breach, I can tell you already from what we've read, and we're barely into it, I am not going to be thinking about my character. I'm going to be thinking about the organization, the goals of this entire exploration. It's not going to be about one character, so I'm natively not going to get super attached to this one character. They might find little neat things that happen to them that emerge, but I'm not going to pour my heart and soul into their romance. That I might do in another game where it's like I want to see these characters and these stories continue. Here, it's like, no, the story is about the organization. The story is about the world. The story is about the discovery. The character is just a vehicle to explore that. And so when you can orient your mind in that way and approach a different game with a different style, for me it's necessary, because otherwise I will have psychic cognitive dissonance and I will struggle because I will naturally gravitate towards the very character driven. And I would not bring that to this game because I would be disappointed, I think. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's how I would protect myself. I think that's a conversation that doesn't happen too often, is we talk about safety tools. I'm going to have to clip this whole section out and repost it. When we talk about safety tools, those are like at the table moments of decisions and moments that are being revealed between players and GMs, and making sure that you're okay with what's happening at the table. There's a different conversation that I don't know that I've seen happen, which is like, what are the safety tools to help you as you even engage with a style of game that might make you uncomfortable? And one of the best safety tools is don't. Just don't do it. But what are the tricks and the tips you can use to try and push yourself outside of your comfort zone, but also keep yourself safe when you know that there are going to be things in it that might upset you? Awesome. Let's continue. With each successive mission, the Watchers will endure injuries and traumas that gradually weaken their resilience. Additionally, their equipment will deteriorate over time, eventually reaching a point where it becomes unusable, because everything about these mechanics are about resources and the depletion thereof, whether it's your physical, mental, or material. I appreciate what you're saying about self-protective distance. I do that too in certain media situations. Well, and it came up on Wednesday night. For those of you that have been watching my playthrough of Expedition 33, no spoilers, but there's a thing that happens at the end of Act 1. It's very controversial, and I have some defenses that I have put up that I'm going to be bringing into the next session that we play of that, which will be, looking at the calendar, that'll be June 24th. Will be the next time we touch Expedition 33, and I've already come up with a strategy for how I'm going to approach the game and how I'm going to keep myself safe emotionally, so that I don't get hurt again, which sounds like so like soft and snowflakey, but like it's actually really mature and responsible, and I'll die on that hill, so come at me. Operator's agenda, here we go. These are always good sections. All right. Describe the situation. Remember that you are the eyes and ears of the Watchers and all their other senses. Help them note crucial details about their situation so they can make a correct decision. This is actually, was I talking to Thaddeus the other night? Maybe it was Thaddeus or Ikes. We were talking about, maybe it was Azrael. I think it was that conversation we were in with Azrael. Talking about how like the players only, like you're their only window into knowing what's real. So you have to like either be really on top of it or forgiving or you don't want to be that GM who like they come into the room and they tell you that I'm searching the desk, okay, I'm searching the fireplace, okay, and then a monster drops up on them from the ceiling and you're like, well, you didn't say you looked up. This is an anecdote from different streams, different streamers, but like I would never want to be that person, because I don't want to put the pressure on the player to be like, okay, all right, let's go in a room again. First things first, I look at the ceiling. Next thing I do, I look around the corner. Next thing I do, I check up the fireplace. Like, that's not a game anymore. That's some sort of procedural kink. I don't know what else to call it. Ask questions. Ask the players what their Watchers do, what they think, and what their goals are. Build on their responses, leading them to a reaction roll. This is interesting. It's very interesting. Do not try to tell a story. It's not your job. The story will emerge from these challenges you present to the players and the Watchers' reactions to those challenges. The framing of this game and games like it is very conducive to this, because again, we're going to go through these breach portals and we're going to end up on alien worlds, and like, it's all good. It's perfectly ripe for this kind of like discover and play kind of thing. The GM player knowledge gap is a huge topic and so good to consider. Absolutely. Yeah, you cannot over communicate. Use logic. When you have to evaluate the outcome of a reaction roll or a creature's reaction, do what is most logical. So this is your rulings over rules, kind of a sentimentality. And also, simulationism without rules versus simulation with rules. Simulation with rules is you have a DC for how slick the wall is. That's always the example I go back to. But simulationism with logic is like, we as people have an experience of being people, and in this game you play people, and we understand the physical world. So if I pick this up and drop it, I know it falls, so I understand gravity. And I could understand, here's normal gravity, and I could understand, okay, well, we have lighter gravity, or we have heavier gravity, and so we can, everything's tied back to the shared, understanding of like what reality is. Harder to do in fantasy in some ways, because you're dealing with things that don't exist. And I guess we're going to get to some science fiction technology as well, but, just think through it. Give them challenges. Each area should contain one or more challenges to face using different approaches. Threaten the life of the characters and let them make risky decisions. So you are supposed to be an aggressive operator in this game, which is not my style either. But you know what? We're having fun reading. Give them tough choices. Create situations where they must choose between risk and reward or between two different risks. Also, a playstyle that I don't really think I enjoy, but if I were here doing it, I would do it, and I would have fun with it. Let yourself be surprised. Let their choices and ideas amaze you and answer questions left unresolved in the adventure. Yeah, I always go back to this example. Poor friend of mine was playing Pathfinder 2 with us and coming up with all these clever ideas, and I'm like, no. You can do what the rules text says you can do, because I'm trying to run this with as little prep as possible, and I don't want to think through these things. I'm trying to offer this as a service to you guys. So we're just going to run it raw. Keep the pressure up. Make time pass. Deplete resources. Make the clock... and keep up the pressure. Mark the clock, probably, is what this is supposed to be. Embrace chaos. Use random tables to create unexpected situations. Let chaos change the game. I'm assuming this game has some sort of random tables, but it might not. And if it doesn't, there's numerous ones out there. All right. Watcher's agenda. So this is your player's agenda. Ask questions. Don't try to defeat every hostile creature. You are in an alien world with one purpose: to explore its areas and complete your mission. Neutralizing every hostile creature you encounter is not your goal and is often very risky. This is also great because you have a home base. You know you're not going to war with these planets. You don't need to kill the aliens. You just need to get some stuff and get back. I'm late, but watching at 2x to try to catch up. You will make it. I believe in you. You will catch up in, 46 plus minutes. And we'll see you then. We'll see you then, Copper. Fighting is a last resort. Combat is dangerous and unpredictable. You should only resort to it when other alternatives have failed. Talking to an opponent or working your way around an obstacle are often more effective and less dangerous choices. This is so important. You are in an alien world with one purpose: to explore its areas and complete your mission. So I don't know if there's any progression, experience points, anything like that in this game. Presumably, you're not going to get those things from doing those things. This is like, and again, everything I know about old games, I know from watching Knights of the Last Call and hearing Derek talk about them. But random encounters were a punishment to players because your goal was to get in, get loot, and get out. In a similar way, loot here is knowledge of worlds, alien technologies, whatever. So that is your goal. This is not a fighting game, but you can die if you're not careful. This just seems like this could be really fun with the right group who's like really into it. Really fun. It also seems like so far it would work really great in play-by-post, which is always a bonus because we only have so much time in our lives for live play, especially when you stream 3 times a week. And sometimes you stream 5 times a week because Golden Sun is a great game. Flee. If you are running out of resources, the danger becomes overwhelming and your fate hangs precariously. Don't be afraid to run away. These 3 things are all the same. They're really trying to drill it, and they're like, players, please, you have to understand, this is not D&D. This is not F20. You're not here to fight. Use your gear. Use the items you carry with you, leveraging them on the right occasions. An item can be highly effective in the right circumstances, but not as useful in many others. Don't hoard your inventory. Don't be afraid of death. Death is part of the game. If your character dies, it's time to make a new one. Nothing lasts forever. Again, you go in with that understanding, you're going to have a better time than if you try to hold on to something that's not meant to be held on to. Yeah. Tone and style. The Breach is a science fiction role-playing game with a retro-futuristic aesthetic inspired by the genre fiction of the 60s and 70s. But what kind of stories play out in The Breach? What is the tone and atmosphere during game sessions? The answer is multiple. Below is a non-exhaustive list of the most common playstyles you can use. Oh, I saw this. I flipped through earlier. There are different, whatever you want to call them. In Girl by Moonlight, you call these series playsets where they have, chunks of mechanics to them. In, I guess, Daggerheart, they call these campaign frames. Somebody can correct me on that. But they're like, here's these different styles. Dystopian sci-fi, in which case, the way you present the Enlightened Confederacy is military in nature. So these modules, these nodules of little concepts will grow and change depending on what you're trying to actually use the game system to do. So, for watchers, completing mission is a matter of honor, but also a way to preserve their status in a society where the lowest are considered expendable. Here's an aesthetic: cold, pale colors, black and white predominant. Red is associated with regime. It's really, really goes in there. Which, I was expecting equilibrium to show up here. Very equilibrium coded. Neat. And again, classically, I have very little experience with most of these touchstones. Equilibrium is the only one here that I have touchstone with. I've heard people talk about Frostpunk. I know of the book Fahrenheit 451. So yeah. What else have we got? The first paradox explored in Operation Genesis. The very first one. Look at that. That's wild. Bleak sci-fi. Dystopian regime and its rules remain somewhat in the background. The heart of the sessions are the journeys within the paradox's inhospitable alien worlds inhabited by dangerous and aggressive creatures. Every mission beyond the breach risks being the last for inattentive or unprepared watchers. Dirty and chaotic, painted with cold and unharmonious colors. This is really cool. This is cool that all this work was put into describing these. Chernobyl didn't see. Alien I haven't seen. I know. Never played a Resident Evil. Never played Stalker. This always comes up. Sidon always brings this up to me, and I don't remember in what context. If it comes to me, I'll think about it. Have not seen The Abyss. So this one's nothing for me. Post-apocalyptic. The regime, although dystopian, is necessarily evil. Rough. Hey, Thaddeus, how you doing? Welcome in. Future's not rosy. This one seems terrible. The heart of the game session is the survival of the Bastion, which may be humanity's last glimmer of hope. Aesthetic, everything is decadent, although hidden behind a facade of stability. Citizens are hungry and thin. They try to smile because they've been taught to do so. Ugh, horrible. Interstellar, Fallout. Black comedy sci-fi. The regime is chaotic and poorly organized, suffocated by excessive bureaucracy in which there are spaces and legislative gaps exploited by the most audacious. Watchers' missions are a consolidated routine, dangerous and deadly, but inserted in a context that makes them seem almost normal, as if the watchers were simply state employees. It's normal to read the daily bulletin of the fallen, whether watchers who never return from their mission or citizens lost in the most labyrinthine levels of the Bastion. Oh my gosh. It's normal to receive less and less rations, and they are more and more meager. It's normal to see citizens punished with force in public places by the heralds for disobedience. And in this normality, the colors of joy and animated advertising posters placed in every corner of the Bastion, with mascots like Miss Goldie shouting positive and encouraging slogans, creating an unsettling dissidence. Loki, yeah. Wally, interesting. Interesting. There you go. There's 4 ways you could skin this game. If I were running it, I'd probably do some mix of all or none of them, to be honest. So, interesting. Okay. Before you start reading the rulebook. You gotta love a rulebook that tells you to read itself. The game is simple, and even if you don't have any kind of previous experience with role-playing games, you should be able to pick it up without any issues. Prepare a mission and a paradox, following the rules in the breach. Gather your friends, teach them how to play, do safety tools. Start playing and find out. 2 to 4 players plus 1 operator. Handful of dice, character sheets, index cards, pencils, and markers. Here's where you can find your character sheet. Oh, good, it is in the book. Let's go there now. So we're on page 23 now. We're going to go to 127. And rotato. Oh, I can't upgrade. Thanks, Adobe. I can't rotate without upgrading to Acrobat Pro. Wow. What a world we live in. Oh, you can. If you don't right-click, you just use it on... Wild. So this is a cool character sheet. Not very printer-friendly, but that's okay. All we have to worry about are name, pronouns, call sign. That's cool. Some sort of traits that we're going to tick if we use them. We're going to have stamina, harm counters, conditions and effects, and then we have our 4 stats, if you want to call it. These are approaches, I think. Aware, mighty, quick, and sneaky. These have clocks on them, which is interesting. Experience points, we do have XP. Figure out what that is. The gutter, which is a specific type of weapon. There's a gutter and a disintegrator. So it looks like you can mod your weapon to do specific things. This is kind of cool. This is kind of No Man's Sky, where they have like the, you guys know, the thing. And it does all the different stuff. It's like an all-in-one multi-tool crazy thing. Tools, cloak, color, R&D. Yeah, I don't know what most of this means, but it seems really straightforward. Really basic. Really basic. And there, we're back. And let's rotate this again. Okay. Watchers, Chapter 2, Who Are You? Please provide an identity document. To participate in expeditions beyond the breach and to be among the lucky ones sent on missions in the paradoxes, watchers must exhibit their qualifications, training, and unwavering loyalty to the Enlightened Confederacy. For this reason, each person who decides to apply and become part of the race program must fill out a questionnaire, the outcome of which will determine both the candidate's suitability and their role within the team. It's very bureaucratic. Okay, specialized people. There's lots of fun flavor text to read if you want it. Characters can take 4 different approaches: aware, mighty, quick, and sneaky. Each approach describes a specific course of action, which allows the player to determine how the watcher faces a dangerous obstacle. Approaches are used when the player has to perform a reaction roll, and each approach is associated with a die, which is added to the player's pool. I haven't mentioned this yet, but everything in the rules so far indicates that there are no actions, and you simply cannot do anything mechanically. All you can do is move through the fiction. You could do what makes sense. You can walk around, you can use your weapons in ways that you can use your weapons, but there's no like actions or rolls that you do, except for explicitly it says when you're doing a reaction roll. So it is the operator who's basically calling for your die rolls. You as the player will never have any control over when you roll the dice. You only respond, you only react. Because, and again, that goes to the sense of like, you are competent specialists. You can do everything you need to do because you're a specialist and you're trained. The only time that we disclaim decision-making to the randomness of dice is when the situation is beyond your expertise or too perilous, right? So it's interesting. Aware, an approach used to move carefully, evaluate situations and consequences, calmly spending time to come to a rational decision. Mighty, an approach emphasizing physical prowess and strength, used to exert force, confront adversaries, and engage in actions involving conflict. Quick, an approach used to act quickly with agility and precision, but without dwelling on the details. And sneaky, an approach used to act stealthily to mislead or to deceive. I could see some overlap with some of these, so that might be interesting. Stamina, physical and mental resources, so it's not just like physical hit points. When a player has to perform a reaction roll, they can decide to add the stamina die to their pool. That's cool. Does it start at a D12? After the reaction roll, the stamina die will be reduced by 1 size. Yeah, making the character more tired and less reactive, and also endangering their health. That's a really cool kind of way to do attrition and resource management. Because the lower it is, the less likely you are to want to use it, because the less likely that it's going to affect the actual result. Because the pool is still going for those target numbers, 1 to 2, 3 to 4, or 5 plus. Interesting. Stamina is also used to make save rolls when the character suffers 1 or more harm. The greater the size of the stamina die, the more likely it is that the watcher will avoid a fallout. At the beginning of each mission, you get a D12 to your stamina. Can never go below D4, so you always have it, I guess, which is good. So actually, when you get down to D4, you do want to roll it every time. Add it every time, right? Yeah, might as well. That's interesting. That's an interesting inversion. Equipment, the cloak. During a mission, watchers wear one of the most modern and innovative protection systems developed by the most advanced minds of the entire enlightened Confederacy, the cloak. A futuristic suit that has become the uniform of the watchers. The veil, capable of protecting from radiation and extreme temperatures, and the husk, capable of absorbing shocks and damage. Cool. Fundamental for survival. Before crossing the breach, it is impossible to know the climatic conditions and environmental parameters of the place where the team will have to act. The uniform is also equipped with measurement and communication tools. Very good. Okay, you can resist using the cloak if you're exposed to extreme conditions. Interesting. And you can resist with the husk for physical stuff. Huh. The cloak's sophisticated technology collects internal and external data, which is displayed on the gauge. This enables the watcher to maintain constant awareness of their health status. Okay. So basically this is saying like the players will always have knowledge about what they're exposed to. You can't gotcha them with it. Breathing mask and filters, flashlight, communication system, directly to the base of operations. Can transmit moving images as a live stream at the astounding revolution of 128 by 64 luminous points displayed on the central system screens, and with minimal delay, ranging only 10 to 15 seconds. Not bad. Not bad. Cloak model Goliath. Oh, interesting. So there are like stats to these. Year of development, 1946. Different weight ratings, mobility. Cloak model Marvel, 1951. Cloak model Seraph, 1956. And they go up in price as they get better. Each watcher has 2 weapons, the disintegrator, a long-range weapon, and the gutter, a melee weapon. Creating the character, they randomly choose options to customize the 2 weapons. What does it mean by randomly and choose? Using the tables on page 41. One of them is a D10, one of them is a D8. Size decreased with each use. Consumes ammo, wears out blades and materials. Once it's down to D4, the weapon becomes unusable. Must be refreshed during respite or downtime. Items in your backpack start with a die rating. If it becomes D4 and reduced, it's either exhausted, broken, or lost. You randomly choose 2 tools to take. You can find other things on your expeditions, okay? Traits are physical or personal aspects of the character that can be used to gain advantages or disadvantages when facing a dangerous obstacle. If used to gain an advantage, they allow you to re-roll during a reaction. If used to gain a disadvantage, they decrease the chances of success during a reaction roll, but allow the player to earn a check. We're going to have to figure out what that means. Each character starts with 2 traits. I do kind of want to... Using checks. Okay, here we go. Checks are a currency that the character can spend during 2 crucial periods. When the team sets up camp during a mission and during the downtime between consecutive missions. Spending checks enables players to perform various activities. Okay. So this is kind of like... mechanically, this is fine. This does not seem to be interested in any sort of narrative simulation. Why a trait that would give you a disadvantage would give you a check. So I think it's just a mechanical thing where it's like, make things harder for yourself. If you're doing well, do this so that you can progress otherwise. I guess you could frame it as like a, oh, they learn from their mistakes kind of a thing, but I don't know. Fill in the registration form, aka this is your character creation. Oh, here's your steps. Okay, let's read these. So assign the following dice to the 4 approaches. D10, D8, D8, D6. Mark D12 in stamina. Randomly choose a call sign. Randomly choose a name. Choose your pronouns. Choose 2 traits. Randomly choose modifiers for the weapons. Choose the color of the cloak and create it. Randomly choose 2 tools. So this is, quick character creation where you're not like thinking through their backstory or anything of the sort. So you can churn through these characters. And again, that's where it goes to like the character of the game is the organization or humanity, really. You're out here trying to find and discover things. So you kind of separate that from the concept of like high characterization focused roleplay. And this is more about experiencing an interesting and crazy world. Approaches and stamina. We know how that works. Question to answer. Why are you well versed in that particular approach? Did you have specific training? Did you have a particular experience that made you accustomed to acting that way? Now this is, this is like trying to say like, hey, bring some thought and some role playing into your character. And I'm just kind of like, I already don't care. They seem so expendable to me. So I kind of don't care. If I'm going to randomly generate all this stuff, I'm just like, whatever. But that's how I like disengage from games like these, where I'm just like, it doesn't matter. Just give me a character and I'll play them. Like I was talking with Ikes last night about board games that have different like characters. So maybe a board game has like 12 different characters you can choose from. And they have different abilities. And like when you play a board game, you're just like, yeah, I'll be Dr. What's It who has this ability. Okay, it's like whatever. Call sign, nickname used on mission. Call sign may change between missions. That's just kind of fun. I don't think there's any mechanics to that. But here again, they're trying to like get you to think like through who the character is, and I'm sorry, I don't care. I don't care in an OSR game like this where it's like everything's lethal and you're gonna die. I'm like, all right, then they're just gonna be a walking bunch of stats finding cool stuff. So yeah, call signs randomly. Cobra Kai, Watchdog, Starbuck. It's fun. This is fun to put some flavor in, but it's not going to inspire me to like make a background. This is some flavor stuff. Name and pronouns. Name is assigned at birth and never changes throughout their life. Oof. Oh, it literally in the world is randomly assigned? That's wild. Okay. Pronouns, however, can be chosen and changed as often as they want during their life. Huh. Yeah, they're all very, very unique names to the point where you're like, yeah, they could be any gender. Interesting. Interesting, weird dystopian sci-fi place. The names listed are gender neutral, but if a player is not comfortable with the randomly chosen name, they can choose another from the list or create a new one in the same style. Traits, here we go. How did one of your two traits assist you in escaping a challenging situation? How did the other trait present obstacles or difficulties for you? Maybe it's less deadly than it seems. And so this stuff is worth doing. I won't try and discount it out of hand. So yeah, you just have some random traits. Very good. And then your weapons. Okay. The first weapon assigned to the character is the Gutter, one-handed retractable curved blade, connected with cables to the cloak's internal battery, enabling the blade to vibrate and penetrate even resilient surfaces. Interesting. So it has these weight and range things, and then modifiers. So you just have a particular, like, thing to your space sword. If used to attack, roll with advantage. Reinforced by alien matter, can penetrate tough materials. It's fun. That's kind of cool. This does seem like it would be really fun as a mega game. I know that's the question in Knights of Last Call all the time, is does it mega game? I think this could, because you're like, yeah, we went here and we found this thing and we couldn't get through it. We need somebody who has a gutter who can cut through whatever, and then somebody goes back out there, right? So that could be fun as a gameplay style. Or you could do this with a group that has like multiple characters in the rosters back home, right? And you just like, oh, we need to come back with what's his face, you know. The second weapon assigned to the character is the Disintegrator, a single-shot, long-barreled shotgun. Withstand extreme conditions, a slow weapon. Spend an action to reload it after firing. And then random modifiers to it. Telescope sight, auto-fire adapter, reload time -1 action, minimum 0. Nice. Paralysis ammo. So your character is almost just as much about like what gear they're carrying, which is, you know, that makes sense for the game like this. You allocate a D10 to one and a D8 to the other. Fair enough. And you got your cloak. Okay, all cloaks begin with a 4-segment clock. This must be when you invoke them for resistances. Watchers love to customize the color of the husk following their taste. This very much does have a lot of like No Man's Sky energy to it. I don't know if that was intentional or not. Scientific research and study, so you have tools, and you're going to get random tools, and then random, wait, what? Yeah, you just get random tools that you can use as narratively makes sense, including a jetpack or a gravity belt, detonator, portable music player. Yeah. This is so cool, though, this art. Very evocative style. Watcher during Operation Twilight. Who knows what that is? Okay, how to play. We finally got to it. The game revolves around player conversation. The operator describes the game situation, informing players about the whereabouts of the Watchers and providing visual and auditory details. They may also introduce exciting elements such as creatures or non-player characters. Watcher players then describe their character's actions, specifying their intentions or objectives. They can choose one of these possible answers: describing what happens, or introducing a dangerous obstacle, asking how the character wishes to handle it. This involves rolling dice and establishing the outcome. So it's really all about the operator just throwing things at you. Operator's role encompasses helping the players correctly frame the scene and its main elements. Main job is to answer their questions and make sure the situation is clear to everyone, especially when they have to decide how to deal with a dangerous obstacle. There is some information that the characters cannot find out simply by asking the operator about it. For example, players might ask if a plant found in the paradox is poisonous or if it has a particular effect. That is not information that characters can discover simply by looking at the plant. The operator, therefore, cannot answer in detail. When similar situations arise, the operator must show the players how to obtain this information. So you can say, I can't answer that. This is what you'll have to do to get that answer. It's fine. For example, they might suggest taking the plant to a biological laboratory and having it examined. Or one of the characters could taste it to find out. All players are welcome to propose methods for gathering information. The final authority lies with the operator. Introduce a dangerous obstacle. Describe the situation, outline the danger, and the consequences. If the character's life is on the line, the operator must specify it explicitly so the player is aware of the risks involved. Because earlier it said in the player agendas that you should run away from stuff if you can. So you need to know when to run. When the operator introduces an obstacle that hinders a Watcher from achieving their goal, the Watcher's player has 3 options to consider. Give up the goal entirely. thereby avoiding the obstacle altogether. Okay. Choose a different approach, bypassing the obstacle and avoiding any direct confrontation. Or face the obstacle, making an attempt to overcome it, describing how the character faces this obstacle. This choice triggers the reaction roll. I appreciate that. I do. The game progresses in rounds to ensure that everyone at the table has a chance to contribute. A round is complete when each player has done a thing, basically. Once all the players have spoken, the round ends. Timescale of a turn depends on the phase of the game. When on mission, timescale is measured in ticks, corresponding to a few minutes. Time is a crucial resource. The more time passes, the more resources will begin to run out. Okay. When the characters are not on a mission, timescale is measured in progress. In the other game's phases, time can expand, and the exact duration of each turn is less crucial to track. But you're still going to do turns, where it's everybody does a thing within that X amount of time period. Up to the players to determine the order. Okay. Yup, reaction roll. Get that. Assemble the dice pool. Here we go. To assemble the dice pool, the player takes the die corresponding to the chosen approach. Yeah. If they want to push their chances, they can add the stamina die. They can also use an item or a weapon if it fits the action, taking the die that corresponds to its rating. Finally, if another character helps, they contribute an extra die, matching their stamina, although both characters share the same risks. So stamina is your aid mechanic as well, which is neat. So you can use you can throw as much stuff at these problems as you want, but they're all going to degrade. And the items start at like D6 and D8. The weapons start at D8 and D10. Your approaches, which you always have to use at minimum, are at like, D12, 10, 8, 6, I think. No, it's 12, 10, 10, 8, I think. That's what you assign. Something like that. And then there you go. Roll the dice. I was going to say this is different, but it is different. It's different from what we saw in the Breathless system. So this is the actual resolution system of this game. 1 to 3 failure, 4 to 5 success, 6 plus success. It uses Blades in the Dark resolution. Yeah, cool. I do like that resolution. But you're doing this pool with die of all different sizes. So I guess you don't need to track which die goes to which thing, but it could be fun to know which is the one that actually made the difference. Surviving is hard. Everyone involved in a roll reduces the rating of every die they use by 1 level. Normally, die cannot be reduced below D4, but in the case of items, they can break and stuff. Yeah. Advantage, disadvantage. Oh, that's what they mean by that. You can only apply 1 advantage and 1 disadvantage, so they could cancel out, kind of. If a trait is invoked to gain an advantage, player may re-roll any of the dice once and must accept the new result. So only 1 die. Oh. That's fun, though, if your D12 comes up with a 1 and you're like, come on. If it's invoked for disadvantage, the results of 4 to 5 are a failure. So you're failing on 1 to 5. But you get a check regardless of the result. So I guess this is also something that you would do if you know that failure is already likely. If you're just like at the end of your rope, you might as well farm for checks if you can survive. During their first mission, the character is considered a rookie benefiting from beginner's luck. If the player initially rolls a failure, they have the opportunity to re-roll the entire dice pool. However, they will have to keep the second result. Wow, that's a neat mechanic. To just be like, you can't get like smoked on your first time. It's very not simulationist. It's just like, here's a luck mechanic so that you can at least get 2 missions with your character. I mean, well, unless they re-roll it again and get a failure. So a result of 1 to 3, huh? And that's any number of times in the first mission. That's kind of cool. When the result of a reaction roll is less than 6, they face consequences, and we know enough about PBTA and Forge to know how those work. You do some bad stuff to them. Harm and resistance. Cloak has a 4-segment clock. When they suffer 1 harm or extreme environmental conditions, so that's either the husk or the shell. Is that what they called it? No, the veil and the husk. They can resist by taking a segment of the cloak's clock. So you don't actually specify which one you're using. You only get 4 uses of this. Resistance is automatic and does not require a roll. Player can simply choose to use the cloak to absorb the specific damage. So for harm or environmental conditions. So you can fail a roll, have a consequence, and then just tank it with your cloak. But it is, again, it's a resource. I wonder why. Well, because it's automatic. That's why it's a clock and not a die roll. Each point of harm from a single source can be resisted separately. After all harm has been resisted or marked, they do a save roll. Save roll, oh boy. When a character suffers any amount of harm from a single source, their well-being is at stake. To determine the effects, the player performs a save roll by rolling stamina multiple times, corresponding to the number of harm marked on their character sheet. Oh. Okay, let me think this through. So if you have 3 harm, you're going to roll your stamina die 3 times. It's not going to degrade, I assume. This is just checking. So if you have a high stamina, then you roll 3d12, and you're going to take the lowest result. The more dice you roll, the more likely you are to see lower results, right? Yeah. Because we don't care about the average. We don't care about the total. So you're kind of better off to roll only 1, because then it's just swingy on a d12. But this is neat too, because if your stamina die is 12, you could roll a 12 and nothing happens. When you go down to a d10, you are not going to get just bruised. You're going to get one of these. If you go down to d8, you're increasing your chances of getting the worst ones as you go. So if you're rolling a d4 harm and you have like 5 harm, you roll 5d4 and take the lowest, and chances of getting instant death are pretty high. Also, chance of instant death is here no matter how high your stamina is. So that's insane. So you want to tank the harm. That's rough. That's really brutal. That's why they say, you know, you're going to die in this game. Yeah, crazy. Crazy, crazy, crazy. Save rolls are considered status checks. Yeah, so it does not decrease the size. That was pretty intuitive. Conditions and effects. So, you know, if you're deafened, you can't hear. Again, this is just about logical resolution. All right, here we got a flowchart. This is handy. Operator describes the situation. Player says what they do. They have 3 choices that we heard about earlier. What they do could be, I disengage entirely and just don't deal with this. Option 2 could be find a different approach to try and get around this problem. And option 3 is to face the obstacle. So, again, they say what they do. Operator could describe what happens and then cycles back to what they do next. Or they could introduce a dangerous obstacle. And here's our 3 choices. They give up the goal and they say what they do now. So it loops back. Or they choose a different approach. Operator describes what happens. Or operator introduces a different dangerous obstacle. And it comes back to player says what they do. If the player faces the obstacle, we go with the roll. We have our complicated resolution. We got consequences, harm, or complication, or lost opportunity, or condition. On harm only, you can do a resistance or save roll. Resistance is with the cloak. Save roll is, you know, try not to roll a 1. Okay. A condition or effect can be temporary or permanent. Damage and healing over time. Okay. How is damage dealt, though? Because all we have is a stamina, which is a die size. Did I miss that? Let me go back and look at... let me go back here. Bleeding. Temporary damage over time, D6. I don't know what that means. Because we don't have a hit point total. I guess we'll find out. Maybe, hopefully. In addition, within the narrative limits and possibilities of action for the character, these conditions and effects, if triggered, inflict or heal a harm. Huh? Okay, I'm sure we're going to get there. Character can die in 3 ways. Consequence of a failed reaction roll. Character suffers a harm and the player cannot mark it because all the boxes have been marked. Or they score a 1 on a save roll. So you could do... Okay, yeah, you could deliver death as the consequence on a roll, which is wild. Wild. Look, a skeleton. A dead watcher, deceased during Operation Poseidon. Very dead. When a character dies, the player can promptly create a new one and rejoin the game, seamlessly joining the team. In addition to the player-controlled primary team, there are always secondary watchers in the background who can step up as protagonists when needed. Yeah, see, this is what I was talking about. Don't. I would just not even answer the roleplay questions, possibly. Just be like, yeah, he's a guy. But again, maybe it's less deadly than I think. So they can send them in at any time, basically. Teamwork. You can help, which is when you roll your stamina for them, right? It can't be. There's only 5 harm boxes. So that would be like saying, oh, you didn't get a 1, so you don't automatically die. But, like, you got a d6 of bleed damage, and if you roll 5 or more, you're instantly dead. And if you have any other harm, you're almost instantly dead. Maybe it is supposed to be that deadly. I don't know. We should probably try and do a search for damage. Because I don't know what it means by damage. You can do it, Adobe. Come on. It's not that big of a PDF. Cloak can absorb damage. Okay. That's us dealing damage. Like, I understand if they're just saying damage as a way to mean harm. But what is this, then? I probably missed something in conditions. Where maybe the die... That's what I need to find. Maybe the die has nothing to do with damage. Here we go. Let's just read this more carefully. That was not helpful at all. Oh, okay. It's the persistence. Temporary conditions or effects are associated with the die. At the beginning of each turn, the player rolls the die, and if they roll 4+, the effect or condition triggers. After the trigger, the die is reduced by 1 size. So if it's a D10, then you're hoping to roll 1, 2, and 3s, and then it decrements. So it's a countdown mechanic for how long it's going to persist. So, deafened temporary D10, you're going to have that last for, let's see, your D10 turn, 8, 6, 4. So it's going to last for 4 turns, basically. Either way. And it may or may not affect you on that particular round. Okay, we got there in the end. That's just because I was going too fast. Protect, you can just step in and take consequences in their place. I like that. Simple. Just say you do it and do it. Assistance is when you give them your stamina die, right? Yep. And then you share the same risks. Simple. Easy. Seems pretty good. If you're at a 1d4 and you're like on the way out, you might as well help. Kind of a thing. It's like, here, take this extra d4. Might not make the difference, but... Distances and movement. We've got range bands. I know that affects the ranged weapon and everything. Clocks and counters. During a mission, there's always at least one clock, the paradox clock. Are we close to there? Yeah, we are. Okay. More lore. Combat. Swift and lethal. No initiative. Hostile creatures do not take turns. They react to the actions and rolls of watchers. If they attack... So there's like an attack sense here. If a watcher obtains a result of 5 or less when attacking a creature. So everything they do is based off of consequences. Your weapons are a D8 and a D10. So you're going to be experiencing consequences a lot. Operator selects a move from a list of predefined options, eliminating the need for additional dice rolls. Cool. No need for a map. Okay. Each weapon has a harm value that determines the damage inflicted if the reaction roll is 4+. Hostile creatures. They are associated with a die themselves. So when the creatures suffer harm, you reduce their die. And if they get below D4, they're done for. They don't take turns. During the operator's turn, if there are hostile creatures, the operator activates them by following a specific procedure. They choose a creature and roll the corresponding die. Based on the results, selects one of the moves that best fits the situation. They can always choose a move corresponding to a lower result if they deem it appropriate. Okay. So as you damage them, you're chipping away at their better abilities, which is cool. If the move requires a specific target, they select one. If it inflicts harm, player can decide whether to resist, use their husk, or do a save roll, and then down the line for all the creatures. So it's side-based initiative. There is no initiative, but there is an operator's turn. Watcher cannot be the target of 2 moves in the same operator's turn. That's nice. That's kind. A brood of Skretic. Yeah, nice little lovely worm guys. Kind of gross. Don't want to go there. The mission. Briefing is the initial phase, so you're going to randomly do some missions. Go into the breach. Interconnected areas connected by passages. So we're going to do abstract kind of dungeon-ish crawling. Danger level. The Eye, a machine that constantly monitors the breach, analyzes the data collected by the Watchers, includes the paradox's frequencies in its reports. Each world vibrates at a distinct frequency, signifying its stability. Okay. In high school, I wrote a science fiction story. And the premise of the different parallel realities was that they vibrated at different levels of like kind of some nonsense string theory kind of thing. So it was just the vibration that changed, and that's what determined what world you were in. So they went into this device and it changed the vibration of the person, and then they would appear in the other world. I wrote that story. You know, I didn't finish it, but it was cool. So that's neat. I like this. I like this different frequency vibration kind of a thing. It's fun. So there's a faster meltdown process. So it's kind of like, yeah, the metabolism of the alternate world is chewing you up. Danger level is the number of clocks. Or number of segments in the clock, rather. Maximum danger, 4-segment clock. Tick, tick, boom. At the start of the mission, the operator places a D8 danger level die on the table in front of the players. During their turn, the operator rolls this die to determine whether to advance the paradox clock. On a 4+, unmarked, but the die size decreases by 1. On a 1 to 3, they mark it and increase the die size. Interesting. That's a fun push and pull. Each time the clock advances, something significant occurs within the mission, worsening weather conditions, tremors, collapsing buildings, and more. The closer the paradox is to collapse, the more dire and perilous the events become. The paradox collapses when all clock segments are marked, resulting in complete destruction. If the characters are still inside the paradox, they are disintegrated. This is interesting. Are these worlds that we're traveling to, they are alternate realities kind of a thing. So we're not like going like out far to a different planet. We're going to like weird may have existed worlds, but it seems like they're all falling apart, which is weird because they all are falling apart at the time that we're exploring them. But maybe that's why the breach is opened. We're only breaching into unstable places because that's how it works. And so if there's a stable alternate reality, we can't get to it. We can only get to it when it breaks down enough that we can connect. Kind of wild. Exploration phase, point crawling approach. Choose one of the layouts. Map remains hidden and must gradually uncover it through exploration, discovering the unknown world piece by piece. Each area represents a different place. It could be ruins, lush vegetation. The operator doesn't explain things. They showcase the enigmatic nature of the paradox both in architecture and in intricate details and let the players contemplate and speculate on their significance. Interesting. This does kind of get around the Ice Planet Hoth situation, where for a paradox, again, these aren't planets necessarily, but they kind of are, you have the different zones that you intentionally create with different feels and vibes. That's nice. Journey between areas is not played out as in its entirety, but rather portrayed through a montage. Okay. So in the passages, you can do the take a breath action. Just going to recover some stuff. Okay. When transitioning between areas, involve different players in describing additional details. So you choose one player. Yeah, that's cool. You rotate through that. Neat. When they enter an area, the operator briefly describes the scene and immediately introduces a dangerous obstacle. So there is, because earlier it was kind of like, yeah, the operator could just introduce obstacles, whatever, which they can, but you definitely have one per area. The goal is to start each area in media res, immediately putting the characters at the center of the action. Nice. Okay. Okay, watcher's turn. Condition checks, yeah, action. Anything that takes time to complete. If it faces an obstacle while performing an action, they perform a reaction roll. They can only spend one action unless they choose to spend stamina, so you can get an extra action out of stamina too. Interesting. Investigating is an activity, and you can ask questions. I like these. This takes me back to A Girl by Moonlight, where each playbook had a different series of questions that they could ask. I think that's a really neat way to represent character. Here, it's, you know, everybody's the same, but it's cool. Investigating is more than just asking the operator simple questions for better understanding. The operator serves as the eyes and ears of the character, and it's through the operator's descriptions that players envision the scene. Players are encouraged to ask the operator for clarifications regarding the area they are in. Welcome to ask the operator questions about obvious issues. Some actions like talking or checking the gauge are considered free. During a turn, a character can perform as many free actions as they want within reasonable limits set by the operator. Some tasks are too complex to do with a single action. Use index cards. And you make a clock. Sure. Simple enough. It's a cool picture. A rare photo of an alien structure inside a paradox. You can take an additional action just by automatically reducing your stamina. Brutal. Alright, here we go. Here's the take a breath. They reset an approach or the stamina to their original rating. Oh. That's pretty good. That's pretty handy. Alright, here's the operator turn. All the players complete their turns, then the operator turn starts. If there are creatures or NPCs, they describe their actions and interactions. If they're hostile, they follow the guides for combat. After all has been resolved, then you roll a danger level to determine whether the paradox is collapsing or not. You could kind of use this if you wanted to gamify Inception, the movie. The whole the dream is collapsing thing. You could use probably a lot of this to create an Inception game. That'd be wild. Respite. Once per mission, when they're in a safe area, they could do a respite phase. Okay. They construct a chamber, an airtight tent, where they can take their masks off and everything. They have rounds in the respite phase. To perform an action, they must spend a check. So you want to gain the checks before you have to go into the respite phase. And at the start, you get a free check. This whole check terminology, I don't know where that comes from, but it's not very intuitive to someone coming new to like OSR stuff. I forget what games use that. I feel like Burning Wheel or something uses checks or something as its language. Invoke traits at a disadvantage to get more. If they have no checks, they perform the free play action. Long rests. Removing all temporary conditions, resetting all approaches and stamina to original. Not bad. Repair. Reset one item or weapon to original rating. Refocus. Meditates, trying to restore concentration and focus, gaining 1 XP. So checks are your way to gain XP. If you get into a respite phase and you're doing all right, then you can just refocus for your XP. That's your progression. Your progression is to not be in such a bad spot that once you get to respite, you can actually get XP. That's funny. Analyze, transfer information, and they gain an advantage when they act. Oh, the operator gives them something valuable and relevant about the mission. So it's like a temporary kind of tag that they can get an advantage on if they act on it. That's neat. Free play. They can have conversations, engage in moments of personal reflection, study something. Yeah. When a round ends, they can decide to end it or continue it in the next round. That's basically if people have checks left or if they want more free play. Reserve of air filters in the chamber's mini heater only lasts for 3 rounds. So max respite is limited to that. Characters are never completely safe during a mission, even during a respite. At the end of each round, the operator rolls the danger level die to determine if the paradox clock advances. Okay. So yeah, you don't just want to camp out in respite because the paradox clock keeps going. That's cool. If the characters successfully achieve their goal, the mission ends immediately. The watchers activate the recovery system and return to the bastion. Otherwise, the mission ends when the characters decide to leave the paradox, taking all the information and materials collected with them. So you either succeed or you quit. Or die. Recovery system is the quickest way to exit the paradox. Watchers are secured with steel cables a few kilometers long connected to winches at the other end. These winches are then activated to swiftly retrieve the characters and facilitate their rapid re-entry into the bastion. That is wild. You're on cables the whole time? That's so crazy. That's very silly. I don't know if I would actually have that in the game. That's too wild for me. Alright. Bunch of lore stuff. Bastions. We got some downtime stuff. I don't know that we'll go into this too deeply. There are points of interest here. Downtime. I'm wondering if downtime I would assume is where you can like upgrade gear or get new items or stuff. Report to your superiors. Retire to rest. Reset all approaches and stamina to full. After a mission, all surviving characters earn 1 XP. And, okay, we have question-based XP too. Have you discovered something new and essential about the paradoxes? Have you faced a dangerous obstacle for the sake of the mission? Have you faced a dangerous obstacle to save a teammate? Okay. In case this isn't clear, in a game like this, where the players are going to get experience points based on answering these questions, your job as the operator is to make these things come up. If you as the operator never make these 3 things come up, you're basically like stunting the growth of your player characters and not giving them the chance to advance. So do it. These XPs must be recorded on the character sheet and can be spent during the training activity. Max of 5 unspent. Cannot hold on to it. All right, here's our downtime. Monthly maintenance of the eye. Let's see. Oh, you have to spend checks in downtime too. But you get 2 free checks to use. Okay. Can do it as much as you have checks to spend. So training. Player may spend XP to tick these segments. When the clock is completed, the rating for that approach increases by 1 die size. Nice. The cost varies on the approach rating. Oh, that's brutal. So if you can only carry 5 XP at a time, and you want to use the training downtime activity with a check, you can put all 5 of your XP into a D10 rated thing, and you get 1 segment. And you need to do that 4 times to increase something from a D10. So, like, yeah, they want you to they want you to do this instead. Even so you could take a D6 to a D8 with 4 XP, which is much better. Maintenance. Reset a weapon to... Oh, wow. Your gear does not recover unless you spend downtime to do it, which makes sense. But that's funny. Each watcher is responsible for the maintenance and upkeep of their equipment and weaponry. They don't do it for you. They're just like, no, fix your own stuff. And you got to spend checks to do it. Wild. R&D. The monolith is subject to finite resources. At the beginning of each downtime phase, the monolith has a rating of D12. As you choose this action, the size of the die will decrease by 1 after each action and can never go below D4. So this is the workshop. Next to the equipment section on the character sheet, there's a 6-segment clock. By spending a check to perform this, you roll the monolith die and take a number of segments based on the result. Okay, what do we get from it? Here we go. When it's completed, you can improve one of their items. You can increase a rating of an item. You can increase the rating or roll on the modifier table to add a new modifier to your weapon. Cool. Or you can improve the cloak. Ooh. I like this. This is fun. This is cool. So you're going to spend checks towards this. There's a 6-segment clock. Huh. And let's see. 12, 10, 9. Sorry. 12, 10, 8, 6, 4. So at most... Oh, you can do it unlimited times. It's just never above D4 at a certain point. So you can keep doing it. That's a lot of checks, though. I like that, though. That's neat. Recovery. Mother Grace. It's a medical clinic. Same idea. Diminishing returns. Remove all harm, remove up to 3 harm, or remove a harm. Hit the bar. Choose one of their traits and change it to another. Determined randomly. Okay. Okay. So you can reset your traits if you don't have ones you like. This is all kind of cool. It's all kind of very cool. Downtime end. You get the possibility of a new call sign. And then free play. It's interesting. It says they can spend rounds. Because the time is calculated in progress, in each turn the character can decide to go to a different area without taking into account distance and space, but only one action per turn. Why are we tracking turns in free play? I don't understand that. That's okay. Watcher during Operation Windstorm. Looks like they're in some goop. Into the unknown. The first to use the term paradox was the scientist Ursula K. Leash. In a paper called The Eye of the Beholder, Dr. Leash had noticed how the frequencies emitted by the breach vary every 2 cycles, sometimes quite drastically. This phenomenon, called resync, is like that of a radio antenna. The breach loses its connection with the previous world and connects to a new one. This phenomenon has nothing to do with the meltdown process of the paradox itself. The breach remains connected to a world even after its collapse, often for several days. Are you going to tell us why these worlds are collapsing? The paradox is an alien place whose biological and physical rules are unknown. Define the detail. Operator defines the details. They don't have to plan out a predetermined story. Don't have to complete a history for the alien world, because it could be emergent or remain unknown. Here we go. The operator has a fundamental role during a game of The Breach to recreate a surreal alien environment where the normal laws of physics do not apply. After a while, you may wish to insert new elements into the paradoxes to keep things fresh. You may want to expand the size or shape of the layouts, or you may want to create new types of creatures. After a few games, you will already be experienced enough to introduce your ideas. The following few paragraphs are guidelines, not rigid rules. They have been inserted to assist you, not limit you. Your imagination defines what watchers will encounter while exploring a paradox. There are no limits to what you can create. There are ready-to-play paradoxes and missions on needgames.com. I didn't see those. That's interesting. I'll have to check again. Oh, this is cool. That's cool. Frequencies emitted by the breach, recorded by the eye. This is the nerd level of stuff that I'm all about. You can see the distortion of these specific waves is pulling down into the left of whatever this, nonsense math is. This is way out of sync. Something crazy is going on with this one. Layouts. Paradoxes frequently exhibit repeating structures. Over recent years, 6 distinct layouts have been mapped, and these layouts have a tendency to reappear in various paradoxes. This is kind of cool in a weird way. It's like, how everything evolves into a crab over time. They're like, yeah, weird paradoxes of alien places tend to map out to certain particular things. For this reason, when the operator crafts a new paradox, they can choose one of 6 layouts or create one from scratch. The wing, the chalice, the chariot, the hammer, the throne, the bow. Diamonds represent areas and lines, the connections between them. And paradox essences. So you're going to generate these. These are going to help you generate the worlds. Stairway, burning, chasm, moss, chaos, heat. What is this one? Paradox with fungi essence. Yeah. Areas have landmarks. Okay, so you get to generate. There's a lot of this work is going to be done for you just in this random generation, and then you just kind of freely associate and come up with stuff. I'm interested in yes, creatures. I was going to say that's the one thing I wanted to see how they handle. Inside each paradox, there reside alien creatures with unknown biology. These creatures can become hostile if approached recklessly, such as through direct aggression. When creating a paradox, the operator also establishes the creatures that inhabit it using the tables below. Each creature possesses unique traits that confer resistance to specific types of damage, while also revealing vulnerabilities to others. When players encounter a creature, they can try to analyze it, studying its behavior and its biological characteristics. That way they can deduce the creature's weaknesses. Cool. So we're going to have description traits, essence. Oh, okay. So when you generate essences, you kind of also know which types of creatures to put in there. That's cool. Rating. Harm and range, armor, weak point, social structure. And moves. Big old jellyfish. A group of Nemot, harmless creatures. Okay. Oh, this is wild. Okay. So these entire characters just basically fit on what's essentially like a note card size thing. So let's look at these guys. The Cornar. Panther-like mammals, telepathic, and can project their thoughts across vast distances. 1,000 small eyes, huge mouth, diamond skin. Essence is where they show up. Rating D12. Harm and range. 2 harm, near range, 1 armor. Weak point is a very loud noise. They have a monarchical social structure. And the moves, so you roll for these. And you can always choose a lower one if you want. Is they either surrender, grip something tight in its jaws, grinding it to dust, or inflicts its target visions of terror. So basically, there's going to be a bunch of crazy stuff. Like these guys, who can die in an explosion of acid blood. Terrifying beast with the ability to withstand extreme temperatures. These creatures eat their younglings. That's not sustainable. Weak point. They have never left their planet. Annihilates everything with an incessant scream. Yikes. That's wild. Because the harm is the same, right? Like, the harm is this. If you're in close range, you're going to take 2 harm if you're there when it does one of these things. But this is just the flavor of how they do those things. Is the vibe I'm getting. How many pages did they give us? Because this is great. You'd want a lot of these. Okay. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So there's 12. Xeno creatures, the sci-fi I'm into. Can they be friends since friend-shaped? Not so far in this game. I don't think so. I don't think there's any friendlies here. Not really. But sure, you can make some, I bet. The xenoarchaeology stuff is something that I'm really into in the sci-fi genre as well. So that's an element of this game that I'm interested in. But it's not really prescriptive about what you'll find. It's just like, you're going to find cool stuff. It's just this very dystopian, not happy, fun times vibe. Converting creatures from other games. Many games already on the market have dozens of exciting creatures, especially OSR types, that you can plug in. BRB making hack of this to make them friends. There you go. Let me know when it's done. We could have the weird alien friend collector version of this, where you go out and use the power of friendship. It's more my style. Yeah, little conversion guide. That's pretty cool. There's a friend-shaped one for you, D-Priest. It's friend-shaped, right? A hostile Scarcrayon, ready to attack. Why would it attack if it's a friend? Dangerous obstacles. More guidance on that. Assembling the paradox. We saw how you do that in final tips. Running the game. Okay, this is going to be advice on how to run OSR type stuff, which you're going to want to know if you're actually going to run this. Setting expectations, communicate. Long legs, the better for hugging. Oof. Ooh. Ooh. Conversation framework. We love the conversation. This is interesting. In downtime, the conversational dynamics are reversed. That's cool. Operator agenda. Mentioned on page 16. Yeah. Examples. We love examples. Don't hide information. It's important to not hide information from the players or intentionally deceive them. That's not how challenges are introduced during a mission. If an NPC is being deceptive, suggest to the players that their watchers have the feeling that something is amiss or that the NPC may not be fully truthful. There's definitely like a lot more to this, obviously, than we're going to get to today. And I'm kind of rushing to the finish here. Operator has the task of telegraphing possible dangers to the players before they materialize. Yelp. Ask questions. Everybody should be asking lots of questions in this game, clearly. Don't try to tell a story. So this is actually going into more detail about the operator agendas from the beginning. Yeah, these are the exact same ones. It's just expanded, which is great. It's very good. You want that. Give them challenges. Give them tough choices. Let yourself be surprised. There's a big brain creature thing. Paradox 5488, sentient class. Strange. Keep the pressure up. Embrace chaos. Portray the game world. Oh, this is interesting. Let's talk about this. Commemorations. When a watcher meets their demise during a mission, it can be an emotional moment for the players. After debriefing the events, it is appropriate for the operator to ask the players if they would like to commemorate their fallen comrade, and if so, how they would like to do it. Maybe they want to go to their favorite bar and drink until they pass out, or perhaps they want to visit surviving relatives and offer condolences, along with any personal effects. In any case, let them describe what they do and how they wish to pay their last respects to their fallen comrade. Give NPCs names and distinctive personalities for recurring characters. Instead of leaving them as nameless operators, assign them names, titles, and unique personalities. So they do want you to like build a lived-in world. It's just really a question of like how deadly is this? And it's not something that I would be able to know by reading this, because again, so much of it is based on usage die and random chance. You know, if you're doing a save roll, if you roll a 1, you're dead. So getting a feel for that math is tricky because of the de-escalating die, but yeah. Mission name and log. It's kind of neat that they wove a lot of the GM, like how to play stuff through the game, but then at the end they like put it all in one place as a GM chapter. So I appreciate that too. Let's see if there's anything else super that jumps out to us. What the manual does not say. This is interesting. Like all instruction manuals, the Breaches manual is also intentionally imperfect. There are certain areas not covered by the rules, which will emerge as you explore the themes and game situations. This is because the rules and procedures of the Breach are tools that all players can use to create and play stories of a certain type. However, like all tools, they can also be used in more creative and expansive ways. It's the operator's job to evaluate the situation. Oh, however, this paragraph does not grant the operator absolute and unlimited powers, or worse, the ability to disregard established rules. When the operator introduces a new rule or procedure to handle a situation that the group is facing for the first time, they must put it in writing. This will become a precedent, just as explained in paragraph 7.3.4. Precedents are tools that allow players to consider the game world, anticipate potential consequences, and enabling the game to become more real and realistic. That's awesome. That's very helpful for like mega game considerations. If you're going to create a shared play space of the Breach, and just anybody can come in at any time, but you're like, this is what we've learned so far. When you face this thing, then you know we've already learned and brought back this information, and here it is written down for you. That's really cool. The trust of the players is at stake. All participants in the game should be aware of the rules and have confidence that they will be respected. Beautiful. Beautiful line. Very cool. There is your character sheet. And there is some final art. And that's The Breach. If I were to play an OSR game, it would probably be a sci-fi game like this. For sure. I just find that more interesting than, I don't know, maybe something about, like, if you translate these same mechanics and everything into dark fantasy, grim dark, dungeon delving, gross, like whatever. You can have your gross sci-fi horror here, but there's more excitement, I think, and wonder into, like, it could be anything. You're going into a weird interdimensional paradox breach, and I think it's cool. So again, this would be something that I'd have to come to with a very particular mindset, prepare myself for the eventuality that, like, you're gonna die. Characters are going to die. It's not about you. It's about, like, the broader story of humanity and what you can discover. I would probably tone back the dystopian tone personally if I were running it. It's just, there's enough dystopia around these days. But I liked it. It's cool. It's neat. Someday I could see myself running this, playing in this, doing something with it. Obviously my plate is very full right now with all sorts of other games. But this is definitely something that I would pick up sometime. I think it could be really neat. So, there you have it. There's The Breach. We did it. We did it in a tight little 2-hour stream. But if you've watched this long and you're catching this on the VOD, or if you're here live, leave a comment, do the like and subscribe thing. If you haven't, subscribing is free. And the London Station Discord Patreon is not free, but as close as you could possibly get to free. Check it out. I'll put that over here. Patreon. A lot of great communication or conversations that happen over there with our community. A lot of intelligent people about all sorts of topics. So come check us out if you're interested in any stretch. We do have a budget tier. It's $1. $1 a month. You can come in and check us out. See what we have to chat about. We do all sorts of voice calls throughout the day. Different people go into the little Hangouts channel and they're like, hey, I'm doing this thing. Anybody want to chat about whatever? And we get to know each other. It's a really fun group. It's not that small. There's like 30-something people in there. So it's not one of those Discords you join and you're like, oh, I'm the 5th person. I guess this was a waste. Nope. It's legit. So come and join us. Yeah, leave a comment. What else do we need to talk about? I'm going to be streaming tomorrow, Sunday morning. I'm not sure on what yet. I'm feeling like it should be a London hour stream, maybe a table topics if I can think of the right topic that'll keep me ranting and raving for 2 to 3 hours. What else? What else is coming up? We've got Legend in the Mist play-by-post games starting on our Discord server. They're full, but they're going on if you want to see some Legend in the Mist action. And just get around a community of people who are playing games actively. So that's also well. We have made lots of friends over the months, and some of them are over in the Twitchverse. We're on YouTube, so we can't actually raid to people on Twitch, but we are gonna go visit one of our friends of the channel, the Cheeky Ghost. Is that the right link? Why did it double post that? That's crazy. Computer, what are you doing? There we go. So, I'm going to go over and hang out with Cheeky, my unofficial cousin, and they are dual streaming with Zach, who is my other unofficial cousin. They're the bestest friends to ever do it. And we're going to go over there and raid in. I'll hang out in their chat for a little bit, do the after-stream decompression before I get on with my day and you get on with yours. And I'm trying to get better at writing a raid message because I never do this. So, if you're not familiar with Twitch etiquette and whatever, you take that message, you copy it. If you do decide to come on over with me, drop that message in the chat so they know that we've brought some eyes to them because they're great. They're great people. They're very, very cool, very kind, generous people. So I'm going to go hang out with them for a little bit. Please come along if you are so inclined, and you can drop the message and then leave. It's fine. Nobody expects everybody to stick around. It's called the Raid and Run. They know to expect it. But with that said, we'll be back tomorrow morning with something, and I hope you have a great rest of your Saturday. Love you all, and we'll see you again on London Station.